Are you ready for a change? Are you tired of being sick? Do you wonder if the choices you make affect your health? Do you wonder what is really healthy? Then you are in the right place. Welcome to a fresh start. Get ready for health. Welcome to Fresh Start. I hope you're ready for health. This is Dr. David Drozik from Memorial Health System, Live Memorial Well, and also from Ohio University Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine. If you've not found our website, you can go there at the address listed below. We encourage you to start with Welcome to a Fresh Start, which will give you a good understanding of what we're about. And then we'd encourage you to move over to Take a Tour. This will help you understand how to use our website. You can download the instructions to save or print over on the left sidebar by clicking Take a Tour. This session in particular is Get Ready, Get Set. It's right under the Learn the Basics tab. So get ready, get set. Why are we here? There are several ways we could answer that, but let's focus on the silent pandemics that we are struggling with. These are the chronic lifestyle-related diseases that affect about 3/4 of our population. They account for 7 of the 10 leading causes of death and 90% of our healthcare spending. Here's a short list: heart attacks and strokes and their risk factors, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, overweight and obesity, diabetes, many common cancers, GERD or heartburn, autoimmune diseases, arthritis, anxiety and depression, and many, many others. Well, what do we usually do about it? We manage them with pills and procedures. We don't do much at actually reversing them. Well, how well does that work? Not very. In 2000, the headlines were doctors are the 3rd leading cause of death in the US. And that's not on purpose, obviously, but unnecessary surgery, errors in the hospital, medication side effects all contribute to undesired harm on our patients. By 2016, it was even worse. Medical errors alone or medications alone could both be counted as the number 3 cause of death. Is there another option? And yes, there is. That's what we would like to present to you. Let's start with my story. I hit my early 50s. I was overweight, had heartburn, thought I should probably go see a primary care provider. I went and found out that I had prediabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. My provider did what most providers do. He pulled out the prescription pad and wrote me prescriptions for a couple of medicines. Like many patients who take metformin for diabetes, I developed diarrhea. I was also one of the 20%, 1 in 5, who developed muscle cramps after taking statins for cholesterol. I wasn't looking forward to the blood pressure medicine, knowing the side effects that those can cause. And now we know the medication I'd been taking over the counter for heartburn can cause osteoporosis, kidney disease, and dementia. The doctor said nothing about diet or exercise, but I knew I should probably quit drinking Dr. Pepper and quit eating my daily Snickers bar. I'd also heard that the Mediterranean diet was a healthy diet, so I thought I would try that. So I put skim milk on my cereal every morning, had low-fat yogurt with fruit most days for lunch. We gave up red meat, but still had poultry and fish most evenings. With that diet, I did lose 5 pounds, and the cholesterol definitely improved, but at a cost. The blood pressure was unchanged because I hadn't started medication yet, but pre-diabetes was progressing toward diabetes. So I resigned myself to the idea of eventually developing diabetes, and I thought I'd do the best I could to prevent it and keep it under control as long as I could. Then my wife pointed her finger at me and said, "You don't have to have diabetes. You've got to come hear the guy I heard today." It was Caldwell Esselstyn from Forks Over Knives, who was in Athens, Ohio, talking about his documentary, Forks Over Knives. So in May 2011, I went to hear him He talked about the study he did with end-of-the-road heart disease patients. These were people who had had their stents and bypasses and were told there wasn't anything else that could be done. Take your medicines, you have 1 to 2 years to live, make the most of it. He invited them instead into a study and put them on a plant-based, low-fat, whole food diet. And their arteries opened up. We have no other treatment in our armamentarium that can open up arteries. We can open them with a balloon and keep them open with a stent, but we have no medication, nothing else that actually dissolves that plaque that's built up in the arteries other than a plant-based whole food diet. He said not only did their arteries open up, but their diabetes got better. Their blood pressure came down, their cholesterol got better. They got off of all their medications. The documentary features several of his patients alive and well 20 years later. I'd already gone through the stages of behavior change. I was ready to make a change. I just needed to know what to do. I was a little skeptical at first because I hadn't been taught this in medical school. So I spent some time reading and found out it was true. The science was there. So I dove in, switched to a plant-based whole food diet, and now today I'm about 35 pounds lighter. The heartburn is cured without medication, blood pressure, cholesterol, pre-diabetes, all gone without medication. So that's what we want to talk about with you. There is a better way. We now treat these chronic diseases with the new specialty of lifestyle medicine. Our tools are a predominantly plant-based diet, physical activity, stress management, control of unhealthy substances, meaningful relationships, and healthy sleep. And that's what we'll be exploring in this class together. Are you ready for health? Welcome to Fresh Start. Are you ready for health? This is Get Ready, Get Set, Part 2. The leading cause of death in the United States is cardiovascular disease, which causes heart attacks and strokes. This is due to atherosclerosis, the clogging of our arteries. There are several things that lead to this that are under our control. These are called modifiable risk factors. They include high blood pressure, diabetes, overweight and obesity, lack of physical activity, high cholesterol, stress, and smoking. We need to ask the question, what is normal? Do you want a normal cholesterol or an optimal cholesterol? For example, half the people admitted to hospitals in the United States with heart attacks have a normal cholesterol. Maybe we really want an optimal cholesterol. In the left sidebar, you can download Biomarkers Explained, save them to your computer or print them off, and we explain the difference between normals and optimal values for your health. Remember, we said the only treatment that actually reverses the clogged arteries is a plant-based whole food diet. What about diabetes? Diabetes is now our single largest U.S. healthcare expense, and it's just getting more and more expensive. But did you know that diabetes is reversible? More than 80% of people with type 2 diabetes can actually reverse their disease if they lose 15 to 20% of their weight. You can do that with bariatric surgery, however, the weight's likely to come back unless you make healthy lifestyle changes. And if you make those healthy lifestyle changes, you may not need the bariatric surgery in the first place. How about prediabetes? This is an epidemic. More than 1 in 3 adults in the U.S. have prediabetes, and more than 80% don't even know it. Even almost a quarter of our teens and young adults have prediabetes. Prediabetes is not pre-disease. If you have it, you're already developing disease in your heart and blood vessels and eyes and kidneys and nerves. This really should be called stage 1 diabetes. More than 70% of people with this will go on to develop full-blown diabetes. And like cardiovascular disease, there are modifiable risk factors for diabetes, things that you can deal with, like an unhealthy diet, being overweight, and being physically inactive. By dealing with these same risk factors, it's not just diabetes that you'll help, it's not just cardiovascular disease, preventing those heart attacks and strokes, it also helps prevent cancer, helps treat depression and anxiety, autoimmune diseases, and many other common diseases. Are you considering surgery, maybe for those total hips or knees, or a bariatric surgery to help you reduce weight? If you apply what we're teaching, you may find that you don't need the surgery at all. But even if you do, you'll heal better and likely have less complications. How about heartburn? Do you need surgery for that? try lifestyle change first. You might find out you don't need that surgery either. We can help with that through teaching you about how to lose weight in a healthy way and which foods and substances to avoid. Lifestyle medicine is different than conventional medicine. This requires your active participation, which means that you are in control of the dose. Just think, if I gave you a pill for blood pressure and you took only a little piece of it, you wouldn't expect to get great results. Well, it's the same thing with lifestyle medicine. We're going to give you the prescriptions, but if you only take a small piece of it, you're not going to get the effect that you want. The fork is the most important determinant of your health, unless you're a smoker. If you're a smoker, the fork's no less important, but it's even more important to eliminate the tobacco. Through our sessions, you're going to see again and again the eating continuum. We'll explain that to you in more detail in future sessions. However, we want to point out that our poor health is due to the foods on the left, those animal products and high processed foods, things that we eat way too often and in too great of quantities. We want you to eat more of are those plant-based whole foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, things that will help you gain the health that you want. Are you ready for health? We introduced you to the eating continuum. Last time we pointed out that eating the foods over here on the left, those animal products and highly processed foods, are at the root cause of our lifestyle-related diseases, such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, leading to our heart attacks and strokes. What we want you to do is to eat more over here on the green side, the plant-based whole foods. That's what we want to talk about now. One way to help you understand this is using the traffic light. We all know what red, yellow, and green means. We've created a brochure for you, which you can download in the left sidebar. Or you can email us and we'd be happy to put one in the mail to you. We all know that green means go. These are plant-based whole foods. You can fill at least 75% of your plate or more with these. These are fruits and vegetables, cooked whole grains, legumes, which are beans, peas, and lentils, seeds and nuts, which are unsalted or uncoated. These are plant-based whole foods. Foods is grown, minimally processed before they come to your plate. These are foods your grandmother would recognize as real food. When you prepare these, you only want a minimal amount of salt, sugar, or fats or oils added to these. Then yellow means caution. Limit these to less than 25% of your plate. These can be things like fish, skinless poultry, both without oil, low-fat dairy, and egg whites. You're actually better off if you don't eat these at all, but if you do, limit them to 25% of your plate. You also want to limit those processed plant-based foods to less than 25% of your plate. These would be breads, at least 51% whole grain, pasta, you want it to be whole grain, and nut butters without additives. We all know that the red light means stop. So stop and reconsider before you eat some of these foods. Eat these rarely, if at all, and for celebrations only. They contain saturated fat and cholesterol. We'll explain the problem with those in future sessions. These include red and processed meats, high-fat dairy, cheese, poultry with skin, egg yolks, palm and coconut oils. We also want to avoid foods that are fried, foods that are made with added sugars and syrups, and those processed carbs, things like pastries, cookies, bread, pasta with refined white flour and sugar added, and trans fats. There are some special cases. We're calling those orange, which means caution, and those are the condiments. They might on their own be red light foods, but you're only going to use them in small quantities to help you enjoy the healthier foods. These often contain salt, sugar and sweeteners, fats and oils, but you're going to get such a small amount that they're okay to use. Another way to look at this is the plate. We want at least 75% of the plate filled with those foods from the green light section, the plant-based whole foods. These are low in calories because they're so high in fiber and water. Again, the fruits, the vegetables, the legumes, beans, peas, and lentils, cooked whole grains, and seeds and nuts. You want to limit to a quarter of the plate or less those highly processed foods such as dried fruit, oils, whole grain bread and pasta, nut butters, and those animal products. Now you might be thinking, this sounds a lot like a vegan diet that I'm promoting. Vegan describes what you don't eat. We're describing what we want you to eat, those plant-based whole foods. There's a study done by some researchers at Harvard looking back at some data from 3 large studies. They had over 200,000 people that they followed for several decades, and they had good dietary data on them. They all started healthy and were followed to see what would happen over time. In one of the studies, they looked at their risk of developing heart disease over time, and the other we'll show you is their risk of developing diabetes. In evaluating the data, they agreed that all those animal products were unhealthy and actually increased the risk of both cardiovascular disease and diabetes. But they wanted to focus on the plant-based foods in particular. They found that they could put these into 2 groups. The unhealthy plant-based foods on the left are the processed plant-based foods like fruit juices, sweetened beverages, refined grains, potatoes, which are predominantly French fries and potato chips, and those sweets and desserts. On the healthy side were whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes. They included vegetable oils, which I would have probably put on the other side as a processed food, and they also added tea and coffee, which in essence are derived from plant-based whole foods. What they found was very interesting. So if you look at this chart with me, you'll see this gray line right here. This is the average risk of coronary heart disease. On this bottom line, we see servings of food by categories per day. This yellow dotted line are those healthy plant-based foods. The more somebody ate, the less their risk of cardiovascular disease. Up here, the red line is for the animal products, and you can see the more that were consumed, the higher the risk of coronary heart disease. And then this line above it is the unhealthy plant-based foods. So the white breads, the cookies, the French fries, the more they ate of those, the higher the rate of heart disease. So the donut's even worse than the chicken salad sandwich. They did the same thing with diabetes, and the results were similar. Here again, the gray line is the standard risk for diabetes. This green line stands for the portions of healthy plant-based foods they had. The more they ate, the lower their risk of diabetes. And by the way, these are high carbohydrate. We'll have more on that in the future. But this line above are those unhealthy processed plant-based foods. The French fries, the Oreo cookies, the white bread. The more they ate, the higher the risk of diabetes. So we're not talking about a vegan diet. We're talking about a plant-based whole food diet, eating more of the foods over here on the green, minimizing those processed foods and animal products on the left. Similar to the eating continuum, we have the activity continuum. The things that are causing us our poor health are over here on the left. We sit too much, spend too much time in front of screens, and we have a sedentary lifestyle. We want you to move down here to the right. Stand more, walk more, stretch more, get involved in physical activity. We'll be talking a lot more about that. Basically, though, we want you to find the activity you enjoy and start getting involved now. Are you ready for health? It's time to talk about goals. We encourage you to set some SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. For example, a poor SMART goal would be, I will eat better, I will exercise more, I'll be healthier. You can't see where you're going. It's too foggy. We'll give you some better options for SMART goals in a minute. On our website under Get Ready, Get Set, we'd like you to go to the left sidebar and download the goals. You can print these off or save them to the computer. Page 1 will look like this, which is a summary of the things we've talked about in this module. On the flip side, we'll find some SMART goals ready for you to choose. Let me walk you through these. First of all, complete Imagine a Better Future worksheet. You can also download that from the left sidebar. It's going to help you find your purpose, which will be your guide for where you're going with your short-term goals over the long haul. There's also the Get Ready, Get Set worksheet you can download. This will help get you into the mindset to make changes that we're going to suggest in the future modules. It's going to ask you things like, what green light foods do you already like to eat? What keeps you from eating more of them? How could you eat more of them? Similarly, it's going to ask you about physical activity. What physical activity do you enjoy? Why don't you do it more? How can you do it more? Also, we're going to encourage you to watch Forks Over Knives. You might be able to get a copy at your public library, or you can find it on Amazon, iTunes, or forksovernKnives.com. We're also going to encourage you to think about past successes. What challenges were you able to overcome in the past? What tools did you use to help you overcome those? We're going to want you to recall those tools and to plan to use them in the future for some of the challenges you're going to face. We also want you to start being mindful of what you eat. Think about it. Why are you eating what you're eating? Is there a better choice? And we want you to consider looking for a buddy. Now, your buddy doesn't have to do this with you, but somebody who's important to you that you can be accountable to. Somebody you can call up or email and say, hey, I'm involved in this program and I need somebody to check up on me. Tell them what your goals are and give them permission to ask you twice a week, Monday, Thursday, something like that, to give you a call, text, or email and ask you, how are you doing on meeting your goals? And we want you to try the Black Bean Sloppy Joe or some other recipe from our website. There's also homework to do on our website. If you don't have time to do homework, don't worry about it, but the more effort you put in, the more likely you're going to find additional benefit. So you start at our webpage. You go to Get Ready, Get Set. The first part, the basics, is what we've gone over in this module. We encourage you then to scroll down until you get to the Watch, Read, and Do section, which is your homework. There's additional resources, some videos, some recipes, some other things that will help you learn even more. Then as you scroll down more, you'll come to the Expand Your Understanding section. This is extra credit. This is for those who have the time and want to learn even more. We encourage you to go through these resources as well. We also want you to explore our recipes. So go to the Try a New Recipe tab, open that and scroll down to Other Recipe Sources. As you scroll down, you'll notice the icons for different sources of recipes. For example, here's Forks Over Knives. Just click on it and it will take you to a wealth of plant-based whole food recipes. You can even sign up to receive those via email right into your own mailbox. We also would encourage you to go to Welcome to Fresh Start, scroll down, watch the introductory videos there. Then if you want to see where are we headed down the road, you can go to In a Nutshell and scroll down and you'll see exactly what we're going to be talking about and recommending for you. You also can take a tour, which will go over the website in detail for you. And for all of our modules, if you go to the sidebar, you'll find links to our PowerPoint slides, which you can download, as well as the references that we talk about during the class. Another resource you can download is First Steps to Health Restoration. This is from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and talks about our pillars, the things that we prescribe to help you find the optimal health. Just a couple of warnings. If you're not used to eating lots of plant-based whole foods, as you increase the consumption of these fiber-rich foods, you're likely to have gas. There might be some bloating. There might be some embarrassing moments. This will pass over the next couple of months. You have to grow the bacteria in your intestine that will help digest the fiber. Also, if you are taking medication for blood pressure or taking insulin for diabetes, if you start to make these changes, you will likely very soon need to have your medicine adjusted. Let your primary care provider know that you're going to make these changes. If you're taking warfarin or Coumadin, a blood thinner, you may have been encouraged to not eat green leafy vegetables. First check with your provider, but we recommend you eat the same amount of green leafy vegetables every day and let them adjust your medication appropriately. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us. You can contact us right here, livememorialwell@mhsystem.org. Are you ready for health? We're here to help.